I remember that day like it was yesterday. The sun was shining and I was feeling like the luckiest woman in the world. Charlie, the love of my life, and I were getting married in a matter of minutes. What I didn't know was that that day wouldn't be the realization of a dream but the beginning of a nightmare. I had no idea that he would ask me to sign a prenuptial agreement in front of all our guests. And he didn't remember one important thing. The party hall that he thought was rented was actually mine. It all started at work. I was a successful interior designer and he was the manager of an investment fund. We met at a company gala and it was love at first sight. We were the perfect couple. I created beauty and he multiplied money. He was always very ambitious and that enchanted me. We dreamed of having a family and building a future together. He would ask me to drop everything and just take care of him. And I would think, so beautiful. He loves me so much he wants to take care of me. Charlie was always controlling with finances. From the beginning he wanted to take care of my money too, saying I was too impulsive and that I spent too much. He made a point of paying for everything at dinners and outings. But he would always ask me for the money back with the excuse that we needed to be transparent with each other. I trusted him. He was my safe harbor and my future husband. I loved him too much to question anything. I started to notice that he was bothered by my achievements. When I got a new project he would get angry. He would say that I was trying too hard and that I should focus on him. One day I won an award for Best Interior Designer in the city. He gave me a hug and said he was proud. But that same night I heard him on the phone saying, "This award means nothing to me. She is the woman who will help me ascend socially." I was completely blind. It was as if he had hypnotized me. And I didn't notice the red flags. I sold my apartment to buy a bigger one for the two of us and he told me to put the apartment in his name. He would tell me it would be easier for him to take care of everything. I trusted him and did what he asked. I moved into his mansion but everything was controlled. I couldn't touch the finances. One day his sister came to visit me. She told me to be careful. That Charlie was known in the family for being a scoundrel, and that he had a history of taking his girlfriend's money and disappearing. I ignored her and called her envious. I couldn't believe that the person I loved was a scoundrel. I was naive, and I blame myself for it. I didn't pay attention to the signs. Our wedding was set. He insisted that our wedding should be at the Diamond Hall, the most expensive party hall in the city. I found it strange because he always said I was a spendthrift, but this time he insisted on an expensive party. I didn't suspect anything. After all, he was the man I loved and he was investing in our future. How foolish I was. I had no idea what was coming. I only thought of one thing. I will finally be happy. He was about to scam me. He always told me that the Diamond Hall was the best place for our wedding. I loved the architecture, the decoration, and the elegant atmosphere of the place. Charlie would tell people that he had gotten a special price because of his contacts, but what I didn't know was that he was just spending my money. That luxurious party hall was actually mine. He thought I was a fool. Charlie proposed to me in a grand way, with a party for all our friends and family. And when he proposed, he gave me a ring that was a rare jewel. I was on cloud 9. But it was nothing compared to what was to come. And it was the biggest disappointment of my life. My best friend Alice told me to be careful. She told me that Charlie had a history of lying. And that he had a friend who was in jail because of him. I didn't believe her. Alice was my best friend, but I couldn't believe she was telling me that. I told her she was jealous. And that she was envious. We fought and I didn't talk to her anymore. And I only found out the truth later. We were finishing organizing the wedding and he said it was important that we signed a prenuptial agreement. He told me it was to protect us. I trusted him and did what he asked. He made me sign a document that said I would only be entitled to 10% of his assets if we got divorced. And without realizing it, I would sign something that I wasn't even aware referred to my assets. My naivety cost me dearly. The wedding was one of the happiest days of my life. I was wearing a very expensive wedding dress. And I was happy to marry the man of my dreams. Our wedding was beautiful. The decoration, the music, and the food were perfect. But I had a tight feeling in my heart. as if something bad was going to happen. In the middle of the party, he went up on stage and took the microphone. He said he had a surprise for me. I was emotional and thinking he was going to make a declaration of love. But that's not what happened. He said that he and I were going to sign the prenuptial agreement in front of everyone, and he asked me to come up on stage. I looked at him and couldn't believe it. I went up on stage and signed, and he smiled, a malicious smile. My heart was broken. I couldn't believe he had made me go through a situation like that. And then he said that the party hall we were renting was a donation from his uncle for our wedding. But he forgot one thing. That hall did not belong to his uncle. That hall was mine. And he had no idea that his nightmare was just beginning. When he announced that the party hall was a donation from his uncle for our wedding, an awkward silence fell. I looked at the audience and noticed that everyone was shocked. His aunt, his mother and his uncle, whom he had invented as the owner of the hall, were all there with a look of not understanding anything. It was at that moment that I realized how naive I had been. Charlie made a fool of me in front of everyone. And the worst part, he didn't know the hall was mine. I went up on stage with a broken heart and signed the prenuptial agreement, not because I was happy but because I already knew what was going to happen. I already knew he had cheated on me, and that he was just spending my money. I didn't say anything, but I started to plan my revenge. He had made me sell my apartment and put the new one in his name. He had made me sign a prenuptial agreement that would take all my money. And now he was humiliating me in front of all our guests. I couldn't be silent anymore. I needed to do something. I looked at my father, whose eyes were full of tears, and he shook his head as a sign that he would support me in any decision. I took the microphone and looked at Charlie. He smiled and gave me a kiss on the cheek. He had no idea what I was going to do. I said I had a surprise for him too. He smiled and looked at me. I told him not to worry, that I had already signed the prenuptial agreement, and that he was the luckiest man in the world. He said I was the most beautiful woman in the world and that he loved me. And I looked at him and said, "You're right, Charlie. I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, but you're not the luckiest man in the world. You're the unluckiest man in the world." I called my lawyer to the stage. Charlie looked at him and his smile disappeared. My lawyer said he was there to read an important document. Charlie looked at me and said, "What is this, Claire? What are you doing?" I looked at him and said, "I warned you, Charlie. I told you I had a surprise for you too. And this is my surprise." My lawyer started reading the document, and what he read changed Charlie's life forever. And mine too. The lawyer cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. He then looked up from the document and his voice echoed through the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "we would like to formalize the annulment of the prenuptial agreement as it was signed under duress. And we would like to inform everyone that the Diamond Hall is not a donation but rather the exclusive property of my client Claire. And most importantly, Charlie, the new apartment that you thought was in your name was also transferred to Claire's name. You no longer have anything." Charlie turned pale. He was in shock. He looked at me and his eyes were full of hatred. He couldn't believe what was happening. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out of his mouth. He looked at his mother and aunt, who had tears in their eyes, and at all the friends and family. And the only reaction was one of astonishment. I approached Charlie and took the microphone from his hands. I looked at him with a smile. "You made a fool of me in front of everyone, Charlie. And now you're reaping what you sowed. I am the luckiest woman in the world for having gotten rid of you. And you are the unluckiest man in the world for having lost everything." I spoke in a loud and clear tone so that everyone in the hall could hear. He tried to hold me, but I pulled away. I turned to the audience and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the wedding is over. Now please enjoy the party. I am the owner of the hall and the party is on me." People started to laugh and applaud. Charlie was dragged off the stage and out of the hall. And me. I stayed behind with my family and friends, celebrating my freedom. And celebrating having recovered my assets. After that day, Charlie became the butt of all jokes. He lost his job, his reputation, and his apartment. And me. I became the most powerful woman in the city. I started a new company and became a successful businesswoman. And one day I was in a cafeteria and I saw Charlie working as a waiter. He looked at me and I just smiled. I didn't feel hatred, just pity. I got married again, to a man who loves and respects me, and who treats me like a queen. We have a son and a daughter, and I am still the owner of the Diamond Hall. The party hall that he thought was rented, but that was actually mine. And this is my story. The story of a woman who fell in love, was deceived, but got up and turned her life around. And of a woman who proved that love is stronger than money and that justice always prevails. The end.